In 2024, I watched Winx Club. It's like opening a time capsule from the early 2000s. This Italian animated series was incredibly popular back in the day, but how does it hold up now, 20 years later? Watching it for the first time, I was surprised by how simultaneously naive, charming, and at times strange it felt, as I definitely experienced some cringe moments while going through the first season. To help you understand, let me give you an example. I watched it with Russian dubbing, and there were moments like this.
Бедная Стелла. Я сковала ее своими энергетическими дисками, и они сужаются.
For someone who didn't grow up with this show, Winx Club might feel a bit simplistic. But it's immediately clear why it became a cult classic. Everything about it is soaked in the spirit of the early 2000s. Bright colors, bold character designs, pop music playing at every turn, and of course its emphasis on friendship, magic, and overcoming challenges. The main character, Bloom, is an ordinary girl from Earth who suddenly discovers she's a fairy. Alongside her friends, Stella, Flora, Musa, and Tekna, she studies at the magical school Althea. This setup seems oddly familiar to me.
You're a wizard, Harry.
At first glance, the story is straightforward. The girls fight against witches from Cloud Tower, learn magic, and try to uncover the mystery of Bloom's origins. But there's something earnest in this simplicity. Every episode has a message about believing in yourself, valuing friends, and persevering through difficulties. That said, watching it as an adult, the plot feels a little formulaic. Antagonists like the witch trio, Icy, Darcy, and Stormy, are flat and predictable, although their charisma and style are undeniably appealing. Meanwhile, the friendship between the heroines develops naturally, and this is perhaps the show's greatest strength. You genuinely start to believe that these girls support one another despite their differences. What about the boys? Although the main heroines are, of course, fairies, the guys from Red Fountain, a school for future heroes, play an important role in the story and add some dynamic energy to the show. However, how their characters are perceived depends a lot on the viewer's age and experience. The boys are essentially a group of specialists, or heroes, learning to handle various weapons, protect the world, and eventually become defenders of the magical dimension. The key members of this team are Sky, the typical prince and leader who catches Bloom's attention right from the start. He takes on the role of an idealized hero, though his character is slightly nuanced as the season unfolds, thanks to a love triangle and minor plot twists. Brandon, a charismatic ladies' man and Stella's boyfriend. He's more laid back and fun than Sky, which makes him quite likable. Riven, the quintessential bad boy who brings drama to the relationships. He's hard to trust, constantly doubting himself and often selfish. However, his inner conflicts make him one of the more intriguing characters. Timmy, a shy but intelligent techie who clearly has a crush on Tekna. His hesitation is sometimes amusing, but he's sincere and kind-hearted. At first, it might seem like the boys are only there for romance and rescuing the girls from danger, but that's not entirely true. While they often act as the heroines' helpers, they do have their own moments that add depth to their characters. This is especially evident in their interactions with each other. The friendship and rivalry, particularly between Sky and Riven, make their relationships feel more alive. However, their development often remains superficial. The focus is almost always on their emotions and interactions with the girls, while their personal stories and growth are pushed into the background. For instance, the switched identity subplot between Sky and Brandon, where they trade places at the beginning of the season, could have been captivating, but ends up feeling like a throwaway storyline. To me, the boys felt more like a backdrop to highlight the heroines. Their romantic arcs are cute, but sometimes overly simplistic. Still, the interactions between the guys and girls often add comedic or dramatic elements, making the show more vibrant. It would have been nice if they had more independence, conflicts, and interactions that weren't tied exclusively to their relationships with the heroines. For example, the friendship and rivalry between Sky and Riven could have been more fleshed out and interesting if the script had given it more attention. In Winx Club, the boys are more like accessories or support for the fairies than fully realized characters. They add romance, drama, and heroism, but don't really stand out as protagonists. Nevertheless, they fit well into the show's overall atmosphere, and their lightheartedness and charisma make the viewing experience enjoyable. Animation. Mixed feelings. The animation is arguably the most polarizing aspect. On one hand, it's the visual style that became Winx Club's signature. Slim silhouettes for the heroines, extravagant outfits, and magical transformations. On the other hand, by modern standards, some scenes feel outdated and less polished. But considering this is a 2004 show, it holds up reasonably well. I also want to highlight the music. It perfectly complements the show's atmosphere. Energetic, slightly naive at times, but so catchy that I found myself humming a few tunes long after watching. What I liked: friendship and interaction between the heroines. Each girl is unique, and together they create a vibrant and diverse group. The magical world. Althea, Cloud Tower, and other locations in the show create an intriguing magical universe that makes you want to explore more. Lightheartedness and optimism. Despite its flaws, the show leaves a warm, cheerful aftertaste. What felt weak? One-dimensional villains. The witches from Cloud Tower are typical cartoonish antagonists with little motivation. Naivety of the plot. At times, it's too simplistic to hold the attention of a more mature viewer. Animation limitations. In certain places, the limited budget becomes obvious, especially in fight scenes. Final verdict. Is it worth watching in 2025? Winx Club isn't just a show. It's a cultural artifact of its era. For those wanting to experience nostalgia or understand why this series became so popular, the first season is worth watching. But it's important to remember that this is a product of its time. It may feel a little naive and simplistic for an adult audience. For me, this experience was surprisingly pleasant. Sure, it's far from perfect, but it has a genuine charm that makes you smile and believe in the power of friendship. And sometimes, that's exactly what's missing in modern pop culture. If you're looking for something light, magical, and low stakes, Winx Club still holds up surprisingly well, even after 20 years. With this, I conclude my review of the first season of the series Winx. I hope it gets more interesting moving forward. Thank you for watching, and all the best.
Kaboom is another first-person donation cesspit released by Nobody Shot Studio on PC, Android, and iOS. Donation in the game has a significant impact on the game. A new player who buys a set of keys can get good weapons from the start. The more funds a player has, the more consumables they can use.